Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Friday's webinar from Alika Digital. It's myself, Anne, and Katie this morning.
Hey, hi everyone.
We're hosting Emil. So Emil's from our new strategist from the social. Actually, you've been here. Is it 2 years or 3 years, Emil?
2 years.
Yes.
Yeah, you just celebrated your 2-year anniversary, haven't you? So Emil's got a really brilliant presentation. I really like this one on evaluating and optimizing social media campaigns, which I think is really useful for everybody that's doing any paid media. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start by doing a poll. So I'll hand over to Katie in a little while. If you want to go and grab the handouts, you can, but the video will be available in a couple of hours' time. For people that are catching up on video, we will load this onto the Alika webinar site where you'll be able to download the PDF as well. So first of all, let's hand over to Katie, who's going to do the poll.
So the first poll, how experienced are you with running social media ads? Are you a total beginner? One of the answers is not using it right now, need to learn more. I'm managing the social media ads, but have a lot to learn. We use an agency and I oversee the account. I'm advanced, but I'm here to learn more from Emil.
Excellent. So, Katie, because the people in the video won't be able to see the results as they come across, if you want to just read out and give Emil an idea of what the level of the audience is today.
So 6% total beginners, 35% need to learn more, not really using it now. 35% managing themselves, but have a lot to learn. 9% have an agency managing it for them, but they oversee the account. And then about 10% are now saying, oh yeah, I'm advanced, but I'm here to learn more from Emil.
Hopefully that's the Alika staff. Excellent. All right then. Well,
there's a second one. There's a second one.
Just as a bit of advice for Emil, everybody that's watching this, Emil, you'd be better off if you haven't already done, turn your Teams off, because that will drive you insane while you're presenting. And for everybody else, if you want to make the screen full screen, just top of all the nice yellow branding, there's a little arrow which will make it full screen, and me and Katie will reappear about 5 to 10. So speak to you in a while. Thanks, Emil.
Emil, do you want me to do the second poll quickly?
Oh, is there two? Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I'll just do it quickly. What is your understanding of attribution windows and social media metrics? No idea on either. I know a little about this. I need to learn about this more fully. And yes, using both, advanced overall.
It's a little bit to see if the people from the first poll see if they're lying or not.
Okay. 38%, no idea on either. 46%, I know a little about this. 15%, I need to learn about this more fully. And 0%, no one is advanced.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I didn't realise you'd done two polls.
You're fine, don't worry.
Excellent. Well, we'll disappear and leave Emil to it, and we'll see you, as I said, about 5 to 10. Okay, thank you.
Cool. So yeah, Anne's already introduced myself. My name's Emil, Digital Strategist here at Alika. Been here for about 2 years, specialising in social media. That's my bread and butter. Just a little bit about me. My background is in PR. I did a degree in sports marketing, so I've always sort of stayed in the marketing sector. But I moved from PR into social media quite gradually because it started to be offered as a service on a bit of an amateur level to start off with. And then I found myself more interested in the social media side than the PR side. So naturally, I just progressed all the way over to full-time social media. I've worked with a wide range of brands, quite a lot of startups, but then quite a few multinationals, like some of the biggest companies in the world. From Norway originally, moved from Norway when I was about 15. Since then, I've lived in 6 cities across Norway, Portugal, and mostly England. So a bit about Alika, established in 2007. We've got 26 staff now, and 46 plus clients. That might not even be up to date because that changes all the time. Here's our team. So we're sort of separated into three kind of brackets. It's our new structure here. So you can find myself in the commercial and strategy team there, which is sort of like a new border section of our company structure. In terms of the agency itself, we are a multi-service agency. We work with quite a lot of clients that take on multiple services, and we try to integrate them as well as possible. And here's just a few of the bigger companies that we are currently working with or have worked with. Most of them we are working with at the moment, because I know a lot of companies, they'll just put up all the logos of the biggest companies, but they haven't worked with them for about 10 years, but we are actually working with these. So today, a lot about today's session is about sort of opening your eyes a little bit to metrics and analysing and evaluating your campaigns, because it's very easy to just take the first stat that you're looking at and run with that and judge performance based on it. But if you're not using the right stats to measure performance, then you're unlikely to be able to see what's performing good, what's not, and then you're unlikely to make the right decisions in optimizing. What I often like to look at it as is, if you take the Einstein quote, everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. And that very much applies to social media campaigns and digital marketing campaigns in general when it comes to paid media. Because if you're judging a specific type of campaign using the wrong KPIs, then it's going to look like it's performing terribly. So you need to adapt the KPIs to the different campaigns. Because if you have a traffic campaign and you're judging it on conversions, so a conversion is like a lead or a purchase, you're judging it on something that is not set up to do. It's set up to generate traffic, not to generate leads. So if it's giving you 0 conversions, that's not necessarily a bad thing if the traffic is first of all high quality, but also coming in at a lower cost. The most common KPIs, that's the key performance indicator. Categories for social media ads are sort of like clicks, impressions, and then conversion/purchases. So like I mentioned, poor judgment leads to mistakes. If you're not judging it on the right KPIs, you're going to make changes that negatively affect performance. You might end up putting budget, removing and allocating budget to the wrong campaigns. Common mistakes are if you're judging awareness ads based on sales. If you set up an awareness ad, you're unlikely to generate any sales from it because it's there to go out to a mass audience. You're at the top of the funnel and you're going out to as many people as possible within your target audience at the cheapest cost. You might be judging ads based on volume, but then ignoring the cost per action. So you might have an ad that's generating 10 sales and an ad that's generating 1 sale. But if the 1 sale came in at £5 and the average cost per sale of the 10 is £100, then that's what you should be looking for. But if you only look at the volume, you look at the 10, oh, that's performing much better. But in reality, the other one is performing 20 times better than it. Judging website traffic ad based on clicks, or that's a thing on Meta. Clicks, or I'll come to that later on, but clicks, it's a bit of a deceiving one on Meta, because a click doesn't necessarily mean that they're clicking through to the website. And discounting ads too soon as well, not giving them a proper chance. That's another common mistake. So all of the above, they lead to changes in budgets, creatives, and if you do start pausing the wrong campaigns and you do that on an ongoing basis, what's going to happen is that overall performance is just going to die down. So based on what I've just mentioned in the first couple of slides there, what you should be able to do at the end of it is look at the performance of your ads and make better judgments so that you can optimize your ads and campaigns more effectively. So first of all, evaluating the metrics. First, we have a look at high impression numbers. Great number of impressions on the awareness side is great, but on its own, it's a bit of a vanity stat, because an impression on its own doesn't even mean that they even noticed it. So you need to evaluate it further and get a better view of your impression data. So you need to analyze things beyond just the impressions. So first, you've got CPM. So that's the cost per 1,000 impressions. You want the CPM to be as low as possible if you're running awareness ads. If the CPM is really high, but your impression numbers really high, then you're getting great volumes, but you're paying too much for them. Frequency is another one, because there's a difference between reach and impressions. Frequency is the amount of times that you reach the same account. So reach is the individual account's reach. So if you have a reach of 1 and impressions of 4, it means that you've reached that person 4 times. So in terms of the amount of people that you've put your ad in front of, that's reach. Impressions is how many times. When it comes to awareness, you've got to sort of look at what kind of frequency you want to sit at, what level you think people will start noticing you. Because if you see an ad once, you're very unlikely to pay attention to it or take anything in. But if you go up to sort of like a 3-4 frequency, when someone's seen your ad 4 times, they're more likely to actually pay attention to you and take notice. You've also got cost per 1,000 accounts reach. So I've got the little asterisk there because even though reach is meant to be individual accounts, Facebook or Meta, for example, they do say if you have a Facebook account and an Instagram account, or if your target audience has both and you're targeting both platforms, if they see an ad on their Facebook and on their Instagram, that will count as 2. But in general, reach is a lot lower number than impressions. Clicks is another one. Like I mentioned earlier, clicks all, which is what is marked as on Meta. That's any click on your ad. So that could be a reaction. So that's a like or anything like that. Comments, even if someone expands the image, even if someone opens the comment section, clicks on the logo and goes to your page or any of the links, all of those added together, that's what clicks are. Then you got link clicks. So that's the number of clicks on a link. Now that can still be someone clicking the logo, so that's a link through to your page. So it could be on Meta or off Meta. Outbound clicks is people that click off Meta technologies. And then you got landing page clicks. So that's someone who successfully loaded a destination web page. An instant experience. An instant experience are those ads where you have a creative with sort of like 3 products on display underneath. And when you open it, you kind of get you get a Meta landing page with all the products, and then you shop through that way. Or the last one is Meta Shop. So that's when they've successfully loaded it. So landing page clicks is often the one that you want to look at. Outbound clicks, also quite relevant. Outbound clicks has become more relevant since the privacy changes, because if they've not managed to track the activity on the website, for example, at least outbound clicks, it does give an indication of how many people have actually clicked to go off Meta. Purchase data as well needs to be qualitatively evaluated. to get a good picture of performance, you don't just look at the number of purchases or leads. Beyond that, you got to look at the cost per purchase or conversion. You got to look at the actual revenue. If you're getting 10 purchases, but the average order value is £2, then it's not exactly performing at the best level. So you need to have a look. What campaigns, maybe some of your campaigns are getting much higher revenue. So even though the volumes are low, the revenue is high, and therefore your ROAS, which is one of the next points. So that's a return on ad spend. If you spend £1 and get £2 back, that's 3 ROAS. Is it 2 ROAS? Can't remember. Brain's not working. Average order value, and then the campaign type as well. So you've got different types of campaigns. If you're getting purchases from a traffic campaign, then that's something to consider, because it's now ticking 2 boxes. If it's generating cheap traffic, but it's also getting purchases, then it kind of it's performing beyond what it's even set up to do. Spend is another one that you need to consider. What people often do is that they start to discount ads or campaigns before they've managed to spend enough to actually prove whether they're performing well or not. So I've got an example here where we've got quite a few different ads, and you can see from the amount spent here that 2 of them that are circled in yellow, they've not had any purchases come in. So on the surface, if you ignore the amount spent, what you're seeing is just 0 purchases. Okay, we're going to pause them. But the top one there is spent 83p. So it's far too early to judge whether that is a poor performing ad or not, because that's 83p. You've got no data. It's not been given a chance at all. And if it was to spend at a level like some of the others here, if it spent £700, maybe that could have an even higher ROAS than that one. So yeah, have a look at the spend before making decisions. Then we go on to attribution windows. An attribution window is a number of days between when a person viewed or clicked your ad and subsequently took an action. There are loads of different types of attribution windows. You've got 2 categories. You've got click attribution, you've got view attribution. Click attribution is someone who clicks on your ad and then takes an action. View attribution is someone viewing your ad, but they don't actually click it. So say someone's on Instagram, they see your ad, they don't click on it, but then they go and Google it and then go on the website and then make a purchase or take an action on the site. So even they viewed it, but they never click the ad. There are loads of different windows and options on the different platforms. So I've listed them all here. I'm not going to go through them all, but you can see here, like the most common on the click side is 1-day click and 7-day click. That's the max for Meta at the moment. They used to go up to 28-day they do 28-day now. You can look at the 28-day window, but you can't optimize for it. They used to have the default window as 28-day click and 1-day view. Now it's 7-day click and 1-day view. So that means anyone who's clicked an ad within 7 days and within 7 days of clicking it, taken an action, so made a purchase, Meta will then take credit for that sale. On top of that, if someone's viewed within the 1 day, they'll take credit, and purchase, they'll also take credit for that. Some of the other platforms, they stretch, like LinkedIn here goes up to 90 days, Pinterest up to 60 days. In those cases, what you might see these days, because there's less data being fed through, is that in the past, what you could see is some huge spikes, and they are massive windows. When it comes to 90 days, if someone clicked your ad and then purchased 90 days later, how much credit are you going to take for that sale? That you need to be critical of your own performance as well. Was it really because of your ads, or was it not? But then you have some cases when, say for example, high ticket items. If you're buying a table for £5,000, you're probably not going to buy it within a day. You're probably going to take quite a bit of time to consider it. Maybe you need to save up some money, and it may be that you take a few months before, or sometimes you can take up to a year, but that's when you have remarketing that comes in and keeps on reminding them. So hopefully what will happen is that some of your other ads will get in front of them, and by the time that they're ready to make that purchase, you take credit through that way. So the default attribution windows on the different platforms, Meta is 7-day click, 1-day view, same on TikTok. LinkedIn is 30-day click, 7-day view. So that's quite a lot higher. Pinterest is 30-day view with 30-day click. They add in engagement as well, but on the other platforms, they sort of count as the same. And then you got Twitter, 30-day click, 1-day view. So that's the default. So when you set up a campaign, that's usually what the conversion window will be. But later on, I'm going to show you how you can change that if you don't want to optimize for those, because there are several situations where you might want a shorter window, you might want a longer window, and it relates to what I said in the previous slide about high ticket items, for example. So what windows should you be using? It's not a set solution in terms of attribution window you should be using in general. Each business and campaign should evaluate what window you want to be reporting on. But you should also pay attention to the other ones for context. So even though you might be optimizing for a 7-day or a 30-day click, 1-day view window, you might want to have a look at how many of those are actually within 7 days. And I'll show you how to do that as well, because once you have a look at the different attribution windows or conversion windows and see how those stats compare to the one that you're using, all of a sudden it opens your eyes and you start to see how effective they are in terms of clicks compared to views and that sort of thing. So the important things to consider: the type of campaigns. Say you have a Black Friday offer and the window is 60-day. The Black Friday offer is a temporary offer. If someone makes a sale 60 days later, it's probably not because of the Black Friday campaign, because that's an urgency campaign. So it's unlikely to be related to those ads. Types of products, high ticket items take longer to consider. So you might want a longer window on those. The types of targeting, remarketing should probably be judged on a shorter window than a prospecting campaign. If someone has never heard of you, then they're likely to take longer to purchase. If it's remarketing, then very often they might be close to the edge where you can just help them get over the line. I also think, and this is being quite critical of my own performance, and I think everyone should, they don't necessarily have to share everything with their clients in terms of all these windows, but you should know it yourself. And I'm quite critical in terms of the longer windows. I'm a believer that the longer the window, the less likely it is to be the main source. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you just discount it. Okay, no, that purchase was made within 30 days, but not within 7 days. So I'm not gonna take any credit for it. That's not necessarily the case, because you should be running integrated campaigns. So if someone becomes aware of your product or service from a social media ad, and then later on they then Google you, and your SEO is on point and you're high up, and they convert through that way, then those two have been synced together, and because of that journey, and you've set up both of them, that's why they made the conversion. Same with PPC. They might be retargeted they might discover you through a social media ad, and then later on be targeted by a PPC, a Google ad campaign, and then take the action. But without the first part, the second part doesn't happen. So even though it wasn't the main reason why they made the decision, it never would have happened without it. So you still need to report on it. And the view attribution is one where people say, yeah, but they didn't even click it, but they did see it. And say your frequency is three, they saw it 3 times, and they did take an action within the 1 day. So even though they didn't click because of it, it was still a reminder. And when it comes to remarketing, for example, you do just giving people that reminder. They might already have your website on their the tab open from the last time they looked, so they don't need to click it. They already know that they're where to go. They already know your website, so they might just type it in directly. So don't discount it just because it's longer, but it might not be the main source. I've sort of set up this this visual here, so you can have a look at how you might judge a campaign on the surface versus when you look beneath the edge. So say, for example, you're optimizing for a 28-day click and 1-day view window. You can see 10 conversions on your top line stats. You think amazing. But then you start to dig a little bit deeper. If you look at 28-day clicks, you've got 3 purchases. So that means that 7 of them are coming through a different window. Then you got the 7-day click, 1-day view, all of a sudden it goes up to 7. But then you got 7-day click only, it goes to 0. If you go down to 1-day click, 1-day view, it's 7 again, 1-day click, 0. So what this is telling you is that none of the purchasers, out of those 10 purchases, none of the people that purchased actually came from clicking the ads within the window, apart from the 3 within the 28 days. So they came within the 21-day window. The other 7 are all view attribution. So there's no conversions within 7 days of clicking the ads. And then you got the 3 purchases within 8 and 28 days. When it comes to view attribution, there are 7. And you can tell that because the drop between 7-day click and 1-day view to 7-day click only, the 7 goes down to 0. And this might sound quite confusing to the beginners, but it isn't that confusing once you start looking at it in the platforms, because it's very easy to take in and understand that once you remove one attribution window and the figures change, it's easy to see where they're coming from. But on the surface, I would say if you're reporting on this 10 conversions within that window, you're probably thinking, yeah, that's a pretty solid return. But then when you're looking at it from a perspective that no one purchased within 7 days of clicking, then you might want to question that ad a little bit more. So then what do you analyze after that? You have to look at the value of the purchases, if there are any trends across the campaigns, how do the values compare when it comes to those purchases? So say, for example, were the purchases within the 7 day, in the 1-day view, so the 7 there, how do they compare to the ones that were click purchases? How does the ROAS compare across them? You make decisions based on all that, and that's how you decide when it comes to these stats here, where to pause, where to shift budget. Maybe there are other campaigns that are getting those 7-day click conversions, even though there might only be 5, is better. They might have 5 within a 28-day click, 1-day view window, but they might have all 5 within 7-day click. So then you have to analyze, is that one performing better? Even though it's 5 compared to 10, those 5 are coming through clicking within 7 days. So is that one actually performing better? So it's all about getting all the pieces of the puzzle together, because if you just analyze on the one side, you are likely to be making the wrong decisions. You also have to look at the different types of campaigns. So those purchases, did they all come through remarketing and none of them through prospecting? Be a little bit critical of yourself. How many of those remarketing purchases or conversions would have come through anyway, realistically? Even though you might be reminding them, some of them are likely to have gone through anyway. Others might have forgotten about you. So that's why you always have to run remarketing anyway. But if all of them are coming through remarketing, then again, it's probably less valuable than if all of them are coming through prospecting, because now you've got new clients coming in. That might be repeat purchases as well. And then you look beyond that, you look at the other stats as well. What are the cost per click saying? What are the cost per 1,000 impressions saying? Because that campaign here, this could have if you're looking at it and you're analyzing the 7-day click purchases and 1-day click purchases, is this one, what is the cost per click for this? It could potentially be extremely high, which means that the campaign is it looks like it's performing really well on the surface, but beyond it, you're not getting the clicks, you're not getting purchases through clicks. It's all through just putting the ad in front of someone and then they're purchasing on that day. So in that case, I've specifically made that example because it's the sort of campaign where I'd probably say that's not actually performing very well. Now, when it comes to having a look at the different windows, I'm going to show you how you can do that on the different platforms. On Meta, it's a reasonably new reintroduction. They used to show this, and then the privacy changes came in and they stopped showing it, but then they've now added it again. So if you go to your ads manager and in your columns, right at the bottom now, there's something called compare attribution settings. If you click that button, it brings up options. So you can tick these boxes and you can have a look at how the ad's performing just within those different windows. So if you look at the bottom here, this is how it's sort of laid out. So you can have a look at these. This is the amount of conversions you're getting through 1-day view. This is 1-day click, this is 7-day click, this is 28-day click. And that's a very useful tool to have in your ads manager. You can simply just go in there and compare. On LinkedIn, not as good, but at least it separates click conversions from view conversions. Again, I'd always say that a campaign with a lot of click conversions is a lot stronger than view conversions, and it's sometimes it's a struggle when you're trying to report to clients and they might say that looks like it's performing really well, but you know that they're coming through view conversions. Educating the client, saying yes, we're getting these purchases, but they're all coming through view conversions, so that's why we're not ready to scale up. We're not ready to increase the budgets until we get more of those click conversions, because they are more likely to be purchases because of the ads, not because the ads were a part of the journey. The best way of looking at the windows, I would say, is through Looker Studio. That's Data Studio, what that used to be called. It gives a wide range of windows. You can go into parameters and change the conversion window. If you have a look at, you've got all sorts of combinations, so you can have a look and play around there and have a look at the different ones. What I do is I set up separate pages. I hide them in the reports because I don't think the client needs to see everything. If anything, it's going to confuse them if you give them too much information, too advanced information. but you should have it so that you can monitor. The best thing about doing it in Looker Studio is that you can visualize it and you can spot the trends more easily. So here's an example of, this is one of my clients, is completely anonymized, but you can have a look here at how 7-day click, this is all to scale. So 7-day click, 1-day view, comparing them to 7-day click only and 1-day click, you can see the drops in there. Now, for this client, we report on a 7-day click, 1-day view. That's in the reports. Those are the stats that are there. But I'll also look at the 7-day click only, and I'll mention it in the reports. If things are going really well on the click side, it's another way for you to report to your stakeholders and your clients to give them additional information. So if you look at the fourth month from the right in the 7-day click only, that's the highest click only attribution revenue that they've had. So I'll add that into the report, and I'll say we had a great month making X amount of revenue. Beyond that, even if we ignore the 1-day view attribution and only look at the click attribution, we had the best month ever. So this gives you tools to sell how well your campaigns are performing as well. And it also gives you little trends here. Like if we look at the 7-day click window, one thing I've noticed with this client is how for the last 8-9 months, for some reason, it seems to work. It's working in a cycle. And this might be a sign of repeat purchasers having a cycle where they run out of products and they purchase every other month, because you can see it goes up, down, up, down, up, down quite clearly across those months. So those trends, then you start to think, okay, how can we use that for our strategy? If we know that they're purchasing every other month because that's a supply, that's how the trend of our clients at the moment is. First of all, let's try and get clients that are on that maybe fill in the gaps there. What else can we do during those months? Do we run offers for those repeat purchases? Maybe get them to make larger orders. Maybe we want them to add on extra services. But you know that they're purchasing from these trends. You know that they're purchasing every other month. So that's when you want to run those campaigns. So when it comes to evaluating and optimizing, I think a good analogy of it is to judge how deep the iceberg is. Because icebergs, they can look the same on the top, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the rest is equal. So if you're only looking at the top level stats and making decisions based on that, you are unlikely to make the poor decisions. But if you look beneath and you have a look at all the additional stats, you'll be able to get that. You'll be able to wrap your head around the campaign to make those decisions and optimize your campaigns more effectively. So if you look at 2 examples I've just come up with, so you got a remarketing campaign, it's got 10 sales within the 7-day click, 1-day view window, but 0 within 7-day click, and a cost per landing page click is £8.50. On the surface, it's got 10 sales. Great, it's performing really well. Second of all, you got a lookalike audience. So a lookalike is a prospecting audience. You're looking for new clients. That's got 10 sales as well. So they're on the surface, they look exactly the same. But then when you go to 7-day click only, that's actually got 8 sales, and the cost per click is £1.50. So that iceberg is a lot deeper than the other one, but they both are performing exactly the same on the main reporting level. So what you do in this case is one is clearly performing better than the other once you've had a look at the other stats. You then start to either shift budget over to it. Maybe you want to pause the remarketing one because it's actually not performing as well. Or maybe you want to run it on a lower level Maybe you want to just increase the budget on the lookalike because it's performing better, get those volumes up. Then we got something that I've labeled it unicorn campaigns. It's probably more like chameleon campaigns, but I feel like unicorn sounds a bit more magical. In theory, the platforms, if you run an awareness campaign, it should give you a lower cost per 1,000 impressions. A traffic campaign should give you a lower cost per click. A conversion campaign should give you a lower cost per acquisition. But in reality, that's not always the case. Quite often, you might see a conversion campaign have a lower cost per click than a traffic campaign. That says conversion campaign. But and maybe the CPM is lower as well. I call those unicorn campaigns because they perform across the board and they contradict the platform. So if you've got campaigns that are ticking boxes beyond their core purpose, it means that you don't necessarily have to run. If a conversion campaign is generating more traffic than your traffic campaign, you might not need to run that traffic campaign. So you're saving money because this unicorn is doing everything for you. It's ticking all the boxes that you need. And I come across this quite often. And I'm sure a lot of people that run social media ads, they've seen the same. They've ended up just running with one type of campaign. Sometimes you have traffic campaigns that generate more sales than a conversion campaign. Again, in theory, it shouldn't happen because the platform should be finding people more likely to purchase in the conversion campaigns and more likely to click in the traffic campaigns. But everything the platform recommends and all the best practices isn't necessarily what's going to happen. So you need to be on the ball and actually spot those trends yourself. You also got to utilize the data to educate your stakeholders and clients. I touched upon that a bit earlier on. Quite a common scenario is when you've got clients and stakeholders, they struggle to trust ads manager data. Social media managers definitely know about this. They've got clients that say, oh, well, I can't see anything in Google Analytics or seeing very limited data there. So I don't trust anything that Facebook is saying. That's when you use the stats beyond just the surface. And maybe they might even be right. They might bring up something that you weren't aware of. So say, for example, they're all view attributed. So maybe you do need to make some changes there because none of the sales are coming in through click attribution. So yeah, as the marketer, you don't have to educate the client. You might need to show them that actually these campaigns all these sales are coming in within 7 days of someone clicking it. It's clearly having an impact on the journey of the client, of your target market and the purchasers, because they are literally clicking it and purchasing within that 7 day window. Even a 1 day attribution, it's within the 1 day. So they've seen it and purchased on that single day. Again, educate your stakeholders and clients so that they truly understand that if you don't run these ads, there is a good chance that those purchases never happen. So even though they might not be the last point, the last click, it still wouldn't have happened. So you need to keep on educating them. And that, for me, it's just a cycle that keeps on happening. You need to keep on educating them. They'll come back and it's going to happen. They might come back 6 months later and have the same question marks. So you keep on re-educating them, keep on reassuring them. But the more of this data that you have and the deeper the data, the more you can provide them with to reassure them. We've also got, you can optimize your ads to these different attribution windows. So say, for example, And by optimizing, it means that you're telling the platform that you want as many people to take the action within this window. So even though Facebook's set one is 7-day click, 1-day view, if you're really struggling, say for example the client is just really doesn't rate any of the purchases coming within the 1-day view window because they can't see them in analytics, what you can do is set up campaigns optimized for 7-day click only. That means that the platform is now going to try to find as many people as possible that are taking an action within 7 days of clicking. They're not going to be looking for the ones that take action within the 1-day view window. They only want people that are clicking and taking action. And you can go even harsher. You can go for a 1-day click window. Again, if you do this, you might want to do it the other way around, where you then in Data Studio, for example, set up another page where you have a look at how many purchases are actually coming within the 7-day click, 1-day view. So like, whereas the other examples that I've mentioned, you're going a little bit harsher. You're starting with the more generous windows, the 7-day click, 1-day view, and then you're looking at the harsher windows. In this case, if you're optimizing for a harsher window, you might want to have a look at the ones that are a little bit more generous, just to have a look at how many are actually out of interest, how many are actually purchasing within 1 day of viewing. I have clients, and I have clients where I optimize the campaigns for 7-day click by report on 7-day click, 1-day view in the reports, and that's just to improve the performance and increase the number of clicks. So it's something worth experimenting with. Even if you just do it as a trial, you can set it up, you can duplicate the campaign and just see how that works in comparison. And then at least you'll know for the future whether that improved performance or not. And then if it turns out that everything's performing better because of it, then that's probably what you're going to do the next time you set up a new campaign. Visually presenting data to spotting trends is something that is really useful, because when you're just looking at the numbers in Ads Manager, I think it can be quite tricky to actually spot those trends. Here's a really good example from one of my clients when having that visual data just made it abundantly clear that something had to change. If we have a look here on the blue line, you can see the cost per landing page click. Over time, you can see that increasing and increasing and increasing to a point where it was very clear that we had to take some action. That could be quite difficult to spot over time if it's increasing by sort of like the 10p mark. It's not necessarily something that you pay great attention to, but then when you have it visualized like this, you'll be able to optimize. So as you can see, we got to a point there where action was taken, and then you can see it drops straight back down because we optimized based on this performance, based on the negative trend that was happening where clicks were going down, the cost per click was going up. So in this case, we decided to set up a traffic campaign and refresh the campaigns that were there, because we were just paying more and more and more per click, and it wasn't really working for us. So that's one of my final tips there when it comes to optimizing. Just get the charts up and visualize it. You can set up your own charts that you don't show your clients, just for your own education, so that you can monitor. But yeah, it just shows clear trends. And that's it. Just to sort of recap some of the key takeaways. Evaluate your campaigns qualitatively. Don't just look at the top line stats and the volumes. Look beyond them. Monitor campaigns based on more than one KPI and one attribution window. Have a look at the bigger picture, add the different pieces of the puzzle so that you get a better idea. And use that additional information to make your changes and optimizations.
Brilliant. Thank you, Emil. Lots of interesting chat, actually, probably more than I expected, because when I read your slides, I thought it was the clearest way of understanding and explaining attribution I've seen. But I think it's raised quite a lot of interesting questions. So let me go through a couple of the things that I've tried to answer and get your take on them. So the first thing I think people are a bit confused about is how much of this applies to organic and understanding attribution in a situation where you're not doing paid social. And of course, it does matter, because if you're doing organic posts, they are going to influence whether people then search for that brand or directly go to a website, which is often the case of doing social and display advertising. You're trying to get people in front of a brand for the first time. But my question to you on that is, I'm guessing that most people that are doing organic posts, because they're doing organic, they've not really got any way of tracking a conversion. So is it worth them considering doing paid in the background just to understand the conversions, or this doesn't work with organic at all? So any advice, or what's your take on, the impact of organic, or is it just about using something like Google Analytics?
Yeah, so this does very much apply to the paid sides. It's not with organic in mind, but you can see different purchases from organic. When it comes to attribution windows, you can't optimize it for 7-day click and stuff like that, because you're going out to your organic audience. It's not the platform trying to find people based on it. Data Studio organic reporting, I'm not sure if you can change attribution windows on there, because I've not worked on organic social.
Can I just take you back a stage? Because how would they see? I'm assuming from my knowledge, but I want you to sort of be a bit more specific. They would still need to set up something like a Facebook pixel and to be tracking conversions. So they need to understand that element if they want to see the conversions back in the platforms. Is that correct?
Yeah, you need to connect to the website, or else how would the platform know what's happening on your website if you've not connected it?
So in a way, what you're saying is that some of the lessons that we learn from from paid can be applied to do what you're doing organically. So the next question that somebody asked was about boosting and why that hadn't worked. So maybe you could just explain, why we don't use boosting, and why we might use the creative of an organic post, but why boosting is just not a very good strategy for doing paid posts.
Well, boosting, it comes in quite a few different forms. Like, I think the most common form of boosting is just clicking boost. The reason why it doesn't work is because you're just telling the platform just to go out to as many people as possible. But if you're not filtering that targeting, it's quite obvious why it doesn't work, because you're just telling it to get it out to more people. You're not saying who
or what do you want from it.
Yeah, exactly. You're just saying, I just want more people to see it. So it's like, it's scattergun. But you can boost in a more precise way. You can add targeting to boosting, but you can also do it the other way around, where you set up a campaign and you actually set up the targeting exactly how you would an ad, but then you just add the organic post as the content. So it's probably more about boosting better, but as I would say, run them as ads if you can. But if boosting is exactly what you want, then just make sure you boost in a better way, I guess. Like, get the targeting right and try to optimize the boosts.
Okay, so the next thing about is, Michael's just mentioned this as well, is the fact that their default is to use Google Analytics, which reports in a very different way. And one of the issues, of course, is that particularly when people see an ad for the first time in Facebook or in display or whatever social platform, they may well come back over to the website by doing a search for that brand in SEO or typing it in. So there's a big disconnect. And because a lot of people don't directly go to the website. And so one of the issues is that what you see in Facebook doesn't match what you see in GA. And therefore people sometimes don't trust it. But what you were explaining early on, Michael was saying, well, the 5,000 clicks don't match the 5,000 visits. Well, clicks don't even, you explained in your slide that clicks don't even mean a click over to the website in Facebook, do they? So could you just explain that again, and why, and also give some examples of when you've done a Facebook ad, how it's come across and what impact it's had over in analytics. So there's two questions there. The different types of clicks in Facebook, just clarify that, and then the difference between what happens in Facebook and what happens in Google, in GA, and how Facebook can have such a positive effect for your marketing generally.
Yeah, so on the click side, like I mentioned in the slides, the click stat on its own is just anything. So it could be someone just opening the comment section, someone clicking on your logo, enlarging an image, anything like that. That is a click. So that's why you need to go a bit deeper in. And if you go to landing page clicks, that number should be matching a lot closer to your GA website visit data. They're the one. That's the stat that you should be looking for if you want to get a closer match. And that's something that, for a beginner, it is a bit cheeky, because you look at clicks and you just assume it's clicks to your website, but then it's good, and you might think this campaign's performing amazingly, but out of those clicks, no one's clicking onto your website, so it's actually not performing well at all.
And the cost can be massively different, can't it? You think, oh, I'm only paying 20 pence a click, and actually, if you look at it on a landing page view, it's it could be £1 or it can be £1.50, and so you're getting a false sense of the economies of the campaign as well when you actually look at the data that the people clicking through.
Yeah, I don't even look at clicks and cost per click all. I only look at outbound clicks, link clicks, landing page views. And then, when it comes to people, how the ads impact the other sources as well, is very common. Social media is very often used as a discovery side of the conversion journey. So if someone discovers you on the platform, and then, or you say you've got a budget of £5,000 on Facebook, but you're not seeing that much coming from Facebook directly on your website. But what you might notice is all of a sudden direct is having a massive boost. So direct is people. There's going to be a lot of people that see your ad and then they just type in your website and it comes up and they go directly. There's going to be a lot of people that Google you instead of clicking the ads. So you're seeing all these boosts in the other areas. It also feeds, it's like an ecosystem. It feeds all the other sources as well. So you don't just judge it on its own performance in the analytics platforms. You don't just judge Facebook on what GA is saying Facebook is doing. You have a look at the blended impact. And that's the best way of doing it, because the tracking is never going to be perfect regardless. Even when it comes to GA, we did an awards entry recently, and even GA, Universal Analytics and GA4, they don't even match up. So it's the same platform. So all the different analytics, whether it's Facebook Ads Manager, Google Analytics, GA4, whatever you look at, none of them are completely precise, but what they are is that they're giving you a piece of the puzzle. What you do is put them all together, and in the middle there, that's probably where you're going to find the most accurate figure.
We've just hit just gone 1 minute past 10 o'clock. I just want to make sure Emil gets some reviews through, because he's worked so hard on this. So I've just put the Reviews.io one up, and I'm just going to send in the Google one now as well. Really enjoyed today. Fantastic. You've done such a good job. We've got Rachel Cryan next week talking about valuable custom audiences for meta ads. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. But yeah, really thank you for your time. Really enjoyed it.
I'm just seeing if there's any questions at the end that anybody else was saying. I think the main thing for me is just that people that people understand that if they want to get the most accurate picture from the direct traffic that you get, clicks is great, landing page views is great, but and that's more likely to match GA. But most campaigns in social are around awareness and consideration. So it really goes back to your Einstein quote at the beginning. You need to use the right KPI depending on what the objectives are, and providing the right data. So if we've got a few minutes at the end, if we've still got quite a lot of people on the call, I'd just like to bring the final point up, and that's about the conversion tracking within some of the paid social campaigns, if you are doing things like conversion bidding, because really the iOS 14 does limit what we can do. And so the award entry that you talked about was bringing that conversion data in, because if we can bring the conversion data in, then the platform's got the tools to actually optimize. So just a final thoughts on the amount of data you get unless you proactively go and hunt it down and make changes. Do you just want to make a final comment on that before we call it a day, Emil?
Sorry, I just missed a bit of that, but I'm assuming you mean like getting in more data to optimize.
From CAPI, from the Facebook conversion API, and rather than the situation at the moment where most people's conversions are limited due to the iOS 14 update to a while ago.
So what happened, I think it's probably a trend within a lot of organizations that were running social media ads before and after the iOS 14 privacy issue, is that a lot of people on the surface still see that performance has gone down and they might think it's not working anymore. But what's actually happened is that it's not necessarily that the ads aren't working anymore. It's that the platforms aren't getting the same amount of data. They're not seeing what the users are doing. But there are different ways now that we can start to uncover that blindfold, where you can feed the platforms more data, which, first of all, you'll be able to see what actions they took more effectively, but you're also giving the platform data to learn from, to find new people. It's not quite going back to before the privacy changes, but you'll be able to see more data, and you'll get more similar performance to before those changes. And that's something that you can come and talk to us about, because we can help you set up APIs and that sort of stuff. You're on mute.
It's quite complicated if you're not technical. There are some easier solutions depending on what platform you're using. So if you're using e-commerce and you've got a Shopify platform, there's some plugins, which was the case study that we're finalists in 6 awards. But if any of you are planning or have found that your social media advertising has been a bit disappointing since the iOS 14 and really want to re-engage with this is the stuff that Emil and the team are doing. And I think it's a massive improvement, because less people are advertising over there. And if you look at things like the cost per click compared with Google, Facebook looks cheap, but if you look at the landing page view, it's not cheap. So if you can make Facebook and the paid social campaigns work on a conversion bidding option and do very well that way, actually that can drive a huge number of your sales and revenue, and also drive the direct traffic and the SEO as well. So there's massive gains in this sector, particularly as it becomes more and more competitive. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. I will meet you over in Teams to do our podcast. I'm still hoping that the podcast will be the 6 or so podcasts that we've recorded already will be released very imminently. And as soon as they are, we'll send you some links. Thank you so much, guys. We've got some lovely reviews coming through. Lots of love and appreciation. I'll stop the recording now, and